Good morning, Fort Point people, you blessed, chosen, frozen in central New York, 7 degrees. Going through this kind of weather to make it to church, that's determination. That's grit. That's awesome. Especially the kids. I can't believe the kids came in willingly with 7-degree weather, but I'm glad they're here. If you know the drill, log into ccg.buzz. We're going to have a fun time this morning. And then after that, we're going to have our regular services where we're learning the Word, worshiping God and music. There's the form of worship. While you guys are logging in, I want to tell you a semi-true story. Police officer pulled me over the other day, and he said, papers. I said, scissors. And then I drove off thinking, I won, right? He must have been a sore loser and wanted a rematch because he, followed me around for an hour. It's weird. Police officers do that. So, just a lesson learned. Never play rock, paper, scissors with cops. You never win. That's a true story, sort of, kind of. Yeah, while you guys are logging in, I got another true story. When I got my job at Spectrum, I went to my interview, and they said, make sure you dress for the part that you want, not the part that you got. So I dressed up as Batman. And needless to say, they told me to go home and change. I still got the job, but now I'm a crime fighter at night with my Batman suit. Batman. So that's a true story as well. Not really, but still. You guys all logged in, or you want me to tell you some more stories? I got more. Please, hurry up. Jimmy's begging you. Please get logged in. No more of these stories. ccg.buzz, or there will be more dad jokes to follow. Is this thing on? Is this thing on? Well, I get no respect, I tell you. No respect. No respect, I tell you. I won't tell you about my wife, because I'm not Rodney. She's wonderful. Hey, so you guys all logged in to CG.buzz. Today, we're going to have some awesome time with video game trivia. What game was released with the Nintendo 64 upon its launch? Was it Mario Kart 64, Wave Race 64, Super Mario 64, Donkey Kong 64? Ironically, I'm wearing my Super Mario sweatshirt, not on purpose. Had no idea this was going to be a topic, so it's perfect serendipity. So you guys said Mario Kart 64, Super Mario 64? Honestly, I don't know. I didn't never own a 64. Let's see who was right. Mario 64. Let's see the names. Mrs. LaFavra, Rodri, Adam, Gators, Silly Billy, Pop Pop. I wonder who said that, Pop Pop. I'm G-Pop. So let's go. Buffa, Boohoo. Oh, that's got to be Joe. Joe, I found you. Buffa, whatever. How many players can simultaneously play in Super Mario Brothers Wii? Is it 6? Is it 2 players? Is it 4 players? Is it 1? I have an idea, but I never owned a Wii myself. I have friends that own Wii, and we played the Mario Kart. Let's see. You guys say 2, 4. I think I would have voted for 4, but I don't know. I'm not voting. You guys said 4. I was going to vote with you guys. Are you guys right? Yes, it was 4. 4 at a time. I like the Super Mario questions. I'm wearing the right outfit today. Which game on the original NES used the Zapper gun? I should know this one because I own the original NES game. I'm that old. Spy Hunter, Duck Hunt, Q*bert, or Shotgun Sammy? I know the answer to this one, but I will not tell you. I owned this game, and I owned a gun. And I used to be right up to the TV like this. Pew, 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 pew. Well, you guys said Duck Hunt. You're right. I don't even have to see the answer. You're right. It is Duck Hunt. I used to play it, and I used to get annoyed. And when I was gangsta, I would step back and shoot from 20 feet away. Straight up gangsta. Sideways, like Jimmy. Which word completes the names of this huge selling video game series? Call of... let's see, is it Call of the Dead, Call of Duty, Call of the Wild, or Call of the Wolf? Oh, is it the Wolf? I would not vote for the Wolf, but I think I know which one this is. Any gamers in the house would know this. Goat Eagles. That's probably Augie. That's Augie? Oh, you're Goat Eagles? Both of you are Goat Eagles? Okay, you guys voted for Duty, Call of Duty. You're right, I played Call of Duty. Not my favorite game, but some people love it. Next game, next question. In 1975 holiday season, what was the #1 selling video game console? Was it Nintendo 64? Think, 1975. Was it Sega Saturn? Was it Nintendo? Was it Atari Pong? Did you guys know that Nintendo originally was not a video game company? They used to sell playing cards and other little trinkets like that in Japan because there was no video games back when they started in the early 20s and 30s. after World War II. So let's see what was the answer. Atari Pong, you're right. I did play Atari Pong way back in the 80s when I was a youngster. Next question. In the Street Fighter II game, which of the characters was a sumo wrestler? Oh, I know this one. Was it Ryu? No, that's my favorite character. Ryu is the man. Was it E Honda? Was it Lee? Or was it Geki? I don't know if Geki is a real character, but I know who that was. I won't tell you which one it is because I know what it is. What do you guys say? Ryu or E Honda? You're wrong about Ryu. It was E Honda. I knew that because he had that long hand. He goes, it's like, oi boy, oh boy, he used to say, because he's big and chunky. Which games console introduced different shapes to the 4 buttons on their controllers? Let's see, was it Sony PlayStation? Was it the Game Boy? Was it the N64? Or was it Sega Game Gear? I think I know this one, but I'm not going to tell you guys because I'm not voting. I'm just the MC. So let's see. What do you guys say? You guys, the Sony PlayStation. I would say yes with you guys. Are you guys right? Yes. I would have been right with you guys. It was the Sony with the triangle and the circle and the square. It was cool. The character Bowser is the primary antagonist of what series? Vote. Don't say it out loud. Vote. You guys. Metroid Prime, Zelda, Mario, or Super Smash Bros. Oh, let's see. That's a tricky one. It's like 50-50 between Mario and Super Smash Bros. For me. What do you guys say? You guys voted Mario. Were you guys right, or was it Super? It was Mario after all. Yeah, that's a tricky question. Was that the last question, or that's the last question? So. Is there one more question? Let's see. Or last? No, last one. So let's see. Who's the Pop-Pop? Who's Pop-Pop? You're Pop-Pop? Wow, you're the winner. You don't get a chicken dinner. Let me see where Goat Eagles are there. Let's see. Buffalo Boo Hoo's the 7th. Oh, boo hoo hoo. All right, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going.
Thank you. So, just to tell my age, I actually played Atari Pong. Ugh.
What
that
is the Atari
makes me feel
Pong?
so old.
What is it?
It literally is on the screen, a stick, and a ball, like a digital ball that goes back and forth, like you're playing ping pong.
That's what you did for fun?
Yeah.
Telling me it's black and white too?
It's all black and white.
Ew,
Yeah.
that's so old.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what's awesome is it had a little switch that you had to put to change the channel, like channel 3, channel 4, and you had it's old technology, yes. And anyone who remembers, yes, we are old.
Yeah. Wait, really?
Really.
That's old.
It's a little cringy right now when I think about it, yeah.
Do you also watch like when like the shows were like a box and not like the whole TV?
It's the whole TV.
There's a box now.
It's a box in it. It's black and then, yeah, black and
I
white.
can't stand those shows.
Yeah.
They're not the whole TV. Well, hello guys. Welcome to Forward Point. I am Justice, part of the welcome team here, and I am joined by the amazing Emiliano. A little bit about us. We are a community of faith, hope, and love, helping people find their
Purpose!
We believe you're here on
Purpose!
for a
Purpose!
and we'd like to be part of that story anywhere we can. E, how can we get connected here?
Well, here, if you're new, we want to give you a very special welcome and a thank you for joining us this morning. We're so glad that you made it out and braved the cold weather that's outside. So to show our appreciation, we hope that you were able to get some delicious banana bread and a little package as a thank you. If you haven't, that's quite all right. If you go right out these doors, there's a welcome table there. There's somebody there, lovely people who will be glad to give it to you, say thank you, and tell you a little bit more, answer your questions. Over the next 75 minutes or so, there's really not going to be a right way or wrong way to join and participate. All that we ask is that you join in, engage in the conversation that we're going to have. You can do it by standing, by sitting, drinking coffee, having water, eating popcorn. Maybe you did get that banana nut bread. You can have it while you're watching, you're participating. All we want to say is thank you.
Yes, and then also we are on all forms of social media, Facebook, Instagram, X. We're also on the Church Center app. The Church Center app is the best way to get connected in the forms in relating to social media. It is like social media for churches. It's so much fun. Everything is on there, from our events that we do over at Love Handles to our live stream on our weekly services.
Absolutely, and on those events, we do have an event that we have every month. So I do this every month. Where are men at? Y'all getting better. I gotta give you your props. Y'all getting better. I need a little more energy. I feel like a director here. All right, so where my men at? There
Where my
we go.
ladies at? We win.
Yeah. Always showing us up, right? See, men, this is why we gotta do better. Next month, we gotta do better.
Oh, yeah. So the men's and women's breakfasts, they are so much fun, so much food. I probably gain a pound each month eating there. I love it so much. It's so delicious. The men meet at...
Love Handles at 9 o'clock.
Yes, and the women meet at my house, which is like there. It's you go that way, and then you go that way, and it's the gray house with children screaming from the windows because there's so many of us.
And now it's time. Where are the children at? Now it's time. We release the children. We have Miss Eileen and Miss Kiwi out there. So if you want to head out, I don't think the kids are in a rush this morning, huh? No?
They're tired today.
Yeah.
They look tired today. Well, I think that's it.
Yep.
We'll continue with our gathering. See you guys.
Good morning, Ford Point. How's everybody doing today? Brr. Yeah, I woke up to some single digits this morning, so I'm glad that you guys were able to plan accordingly and dress warm. It's great to be with all of you here this morning. We do want to extend a special moment of condolence for all of the Bills fans this week. I know it was a rough week to lose to the Chiefs last Sunday, but the good news is you got to play in the playoffs, unlike some other teams represented here this morning. So we're glad that you had a little bit longer season than some other ones. Normally in the month of February, we like to do some kind of relationship series, but this year we're going to do something kind of piggybacking off of our last series on Ordinary, really talking about our church relationships and what we feel God has called us to do here as far as challenging people to grow in their relationship with Jesus. So we're starting a new series this morning called Level Up. Are there any gamers in the house this morning? Anybody who, we have some gamers, we got a few of you. Some people not so much. So if you're not a gamer, probably what I'm going to talk about for the next 10 minutes is not going to relate to you in the least bit. But for me, in the Doyle family, you know, I've been a long time gamer, and I've gone through different seasons where I've really had to focus on, okay, I can't play video games as much as I have been because I can get super into them, and games have gotten more and more complex and involved over the years, where like they're designed to take not just like hours of your time, but like hundreds of hours of your time. If you really want to finish and beat a game nowadays, you have to invest basically the equivalent of a master's degree to 100% complete it if you're that OCD. And I tend to be that OCD when it comes to my video games. I like to see 100% completion when I play them. So that's why I've kind of had to step away from video games. But they didn't always start out that way. He kind of told us what Pong was like. I never played Pong, but maybe some of you were Atari people where you had just the two lines and the ball going boop, you know, back and forth, boop, going back the other way. My first experience with video games was the Nintendo Entertainment System. Anybody here have the Nintendo, the original, NES? Yeah. Oh man, this was the coolest thing. Duck Hunt and Mario. It came out in 1985. Mario, get this. Mario only had 32 levels. Right? Nowadays, you give somebody NES, they would beat Mario probably within an hour. That's how quickly it would have been. But at the time, man, it was like groundbreaking. The colors, all the things that you could do, and then video game people, they kind of wisened up on how to make more money. They figured the longer we can keep people tied down to these games, the more money we will make. It's kind of the basis for social media and a lot of other things. So over the course of 1985 to today, there's been some 200 plus games just based around Mario characters, right? Talk about milking a franchise. Now we have movies and all sorts of other things, but over 200 games, and progressively the games got more and more complex. We started off with just basic Mario in 1985, where you would beat the level and then go on to the next level, and just you do that 32 times, and the game was completed. I remember I was super excited when we learned the cheat code to have like 99 lives. It was like up, down, left, right, select. I forget what it was, but you could have unlimited lives on Mario. It was like, wow, this is so cool. It's like we're magic being able to do these things. And then the next game that came out that kind of was in this progression was Mega Man. I don't know if you ever played Mega Man, but Mega Man was this character who had like a little blaster for an arm. And whenever he defeated a boss, he assumed the power of that boss. Like he was able to now have it in his arsenal, where he was able to take over that bad guy's power. So you had like this form of customization you could do with your character. And all of a sudden, it was a little bit more involved, a little bit more in depth, and it became more and more exciting. We'd spend hours playing Mega Man. Well, when I moved down to Florida, I became friends with some of my youth leaders really closely, and they introduced me to this game called World of Warcraft. Now, I understand that if you grew up in church and maybe tend to be a little bit more on the legalistic side, you may hear the Warcraft and think, oh my gosh, how is he not burning in hell for saying that up on the stage, right? But it was this game. It's called an MMORPG. If you're not familiar with that it's a massively multiplayer online role-playing game, okay? Again, you hear the term role-playing, you probably think I need to repent, and I probably do. But I would play this game, and the basis of the game is you would create a character. You get to create the hair and the clothes and what kind of class you were, what kind of powers you were going to have. And you would start off as a level 1 character. And you would do all these missions, and you would have to defeat the bad guys, and you would get experience points. And as you got more and more experience points, you would then level up. And man, I was so involved in this game. I got from 1 to 90 was how you maxed out the character. And it started to be, once you maxed out the character, the only way to keep things fresh was playing in these dungeons and doing these daily quests and all these things that just were consuming more and more and more of my time to level up this character. And then they would come out with an expansion pack, and there would, be 10 more levels you could get with your character. And when I left Florida, I kind of left that behind until we had our first child, Justice. When Justice was born, I figured, hey, there's not much to do when you have a newborn, right? There's hours in the hospital, and, Chadlet's going to be up in the middle of the night feeding the baby. So what am I going to do? I might as well play some computer games. So I'd buy the expansion, and I would get all the extra 10 levels up of my character and max it out. And then once Chazlet started giving me the stink eye because I wasn't helping, I would decide to stop playing the game. And then it happened again for our next child. So out there somewhere, I don't have any more, but you can go and see my maxed out World of Warcraft characters that we have. And it's this idea of constantly working towards this next level, something more powerful. You unlock new skills and new abilities and new armors with each level that you attain. Well, I'm sure if you're not into computer games, maybe you've heard of Call of Duty or different sports games that are out there, and they all kind of have the same mentality. You invest a lot of time and a lot of energy, and you go to another level, or you unlock special abilities or special things you're able to do. In Call of Duty, you get to Prestige, right, which is level 50, and then you decide that you're going to start all over, and now you're at a Prestige level. And it's all this leveling up that we see in video games. And a lot of times, our faith is viewed as kind of the OG Mario game, right? Where you kind of just go through a level, and we're hoping at the end we've done maybe enough things, we've said the right words, where we're going to pass the level and be able to get to heaven. But the reality is that our faith is actually designed to be a lot more like modern games, where there is a lot of leveling up that we're called to do, that God wants to do in my life, that he wants to do in your life. That where we are is not the end product that he would want to see from us, but for many of us, we kind of just coast. We kind of just enjoy where we're at and just hoping for at the end of the level that we're good to go. But this morning, we're going to be talking about this idea that what got you to where you are, Forward Point, will not get you to where you were called. And this is not just like a physical location, like you're called to Syracuse or maybe you're called to Zimbabwe. But we're talking about, how do we bring heaven to earth? Because reality is that there's a whole lot more people that are going to heaven than that are bringing heaven down to earth. Right? There's a whole lot more people that they said a prayer and they're ready for eternity, living kind of their lives like nothing else changed as a result of that. Then there are people who are saying, you know what, today I want to make sure that my life looks more and more like Jesus than it did yesterday. And tomorrow I want it to look more and more like Jesus than it did today. I want to regularly level up in my faith so I can be part of bringing heaven down here to earth. So you and I, we have spiritual levels to level up in. And as soon as you level up to one, right, it's not that it's time to just sit back and relax. It's like, all right, we turn up the heat, no pun intended, and we get to, God, where is the next level that you want from us? What's the next area of work, of refining that you want to do in my life to get me where you're calling me? Because as soon as we arrive at one level, the attention now focus on, okay, God, what is it that you want to do next to get to where you want us to be? And you build upon it, right? Kind of one foundation, one step over the other. They build upon it. And salvation is important. That moment when you say that, I want to turn my life and live for Jesus, that's got to be the foundation for all of us. But it just doesn't stop there. We start building on that, and we build on that, and there's always another level to get to. Unless you're Elijah or you're Enoch, right? The only two people who in Scripture talk about being either taken up to God by a chariot of fire like Elijah, or just all of a sudden you're not there anymore. You're with God, as is the case with Enoch, right? They obviously did not have any more leveling up to do. They got to the level that they needed to, and God is like, all right, come on up and spend the rest of eternity with me. But for you and I, if you're still here on earth, right, if you're not dead, as we sing a lot of times, then he's not done. There's still more leveling up that we're called to do, that he has in store for us. Now, the first kind of levels, as you may be familiar with if you played any kind of video game, they're kind of easy, right? They kind of just are designed to help you get familiar with the controls and the actions and what the different buttons do. And that's kind of for us, that's giving our life to Jesus. I mean, giving our life to Jesus for all of us, if you can think back to that time when you did it, there's a good chance that the emotions surrounding that and the circumstances surrounding that were probably pretty joyful for you. You look back with great fondness to that time in your life, and you think, man, this and the rest of my life is going to be amazing. Until the next day hit, right? The next day hits and reality sinks in and the pressures of the world start coming down and then the feelings start to change. But when I look at even Jesus and his disciples, right? When Jesus was here and he called the disciples, like that first level for the disciples was super easy. He's just like, hey guys, come follow me and I'm going to make you fishers of men, right? This is in a culture where to be called by a rabbi is seen like, celebrity status. So for them, they're thinking, man, this is like winning the jackpot for us. Jesus didn't come out and say, hey, guys, come follow me and you're going to be martyrs and tortured for your faith, right? Like he didn't start with a level, 50 kind of assignment to entice them to join. He just said, come and follow me and I'm going to teach you how to be fishers of men. And some of the words that Jesus uses when he's just talking to crowds, right? He says, all of you who are wearied and tired, right? Come and follow me and I'm going to give you rest. Right? That's a very level one, a very enticing, a very invitational kind of message that he offers. But we're not called to just stay there. right? We're not called to just live in this very, hunky-dory, everything is pie in the sky kind of environment. Jesus said, right, if you're tired, if you're weary, I will give you rest. Not meant to stay resting, not meant to stay chilling out on the beach. But all too often what happens is we kind of just get comfortable and we just, pull out the recliner, we flip on the TV, and we just enjoy the fact that we are going to heaven. But Ford, when you and I are called for so much more than that, being a disciple means so much more than that. And it's not just some of us who are called to be disciples. Part of following him is a signing up of saying that I want to be a disciple. And there's this accountability, right? There's this the accountability that's tied to the amount of time that you and I are given here on earth. Right? All of us have X amount of days and years and hours that we are here on earth. And there's an accountability that you and I are going to be responsible for the time that we gave our life to Jesus and the time that we no longer live here on earth. Now, for some people, that's a very short time. Like I think of the thief on the cross next to Jesus, right? The thief on the cross said, man, Jesus, would you remember me when you're in your kingdom today, right? That was the initiation for him to turn his life towards Jesus. And what did Jesus say? Sorry, bro, you didn't get to do communion. You never got baptized, right? You never got to sing the new elevation songs. Sorry, bud. Stinks to be you, right? No. He said, you're going to be in my kingdom tonight. Tonight, you and I are going to be together. He had a very short window of which he had to be accountable for his actions because he was just hours from expiration. For some of us, we maybe gave our life to Jesus early on in our life, right? So we have years and years of accountability where we're going to stand before God and have to give an account of how did we spend those times. Revelations talks about, the different rewards that we're going to be given based on the life that we lived here for Jesus. Not rewards for ourselves, but so that when we get to heaven, we're going to receive these and we get to lay them at the feet of Jesus. And man, how awful would it be to have years and years of living our life saying we trust and believe in Jesus, yet to get to that spot and not have anything to lay at his feet. Yeah, I know there's no sadness and tears in heaven, but I gotta feel like there's a certain level of, man, looking back now, I wish I had done more for you in leveling up in my life. Right? And again, we're not talking about salvation. Salvation is cut and dry. You trust Jesus with your life, and you're going to spend eternity with him. But there is this leveling up that we're called to do where we're becoming more and more like him. And we're responsible for that time. Jesus tells this parable where he talks about inviting some people to work in a field, right? And he starts off early in the day, and he says, all right, guys, I'll pay you X amount of dollars to work in this field today. And they think, yeah, well, this is great. We'll do it. And they go out and work, and then later on in the day, Jesus asks some more people, hey, would you go and work in this field? There's a lot to be done. And they said, yes. They sign up, and they go and work, and then later on in the day again, the same thing happens again. And by the end of the day, when it's time to pay everybody, he starts by paying the people who joined later in the day, and he pays them the same amount of money that he pays the people who started halfway through the day, and that started at the beginning of the day. And the people at the beginning of the day start to say, hey, what gives, right? Why are they getting the same amount of money that we are? And Jesus says, what does it matter? You agreed to work for this amount of money. Who cares if I choose to be generous with what I have? Right? The reality being that we're all going to have some kind of time here on earth. For some of us, it may be the entire day. For others of us, it may be a short part of the day. But we're all entitled to the same kind of eternity that Jesus has to offer. But we're going to be responsible to work for whatever time that we do have. We're going to be accountable for that time. Because for us, what got you to where you are, Forward Point, is not going to get you to where you're called. And we all have a calling, or we all have a purpose here for which you were made and here on earth. And what I love about the New Testament Gospels, that I think the New Testament, what I think we often forget is that it was written to believers, right? Except for the Gospels and the book of Acts, that's kind of written in biography style for anybody to know the story. The rest of the New Testament is written to believers. It's written to start churches. It's written to help keep churches going. And a lot of times we try to use that as kind of ammunition towards people who don't believe in Jesus as ways of saying you should be doing this. But this is for you and I. These words in the New Testament are to challenge the way that you and I live, to help us level up in our faith. And one of those disciples who started off with this, just come and follow Jesus mindset, like, ooh, this is going to be fun, but then went through a series of kind of leveling up and leveling down and then leveling up and giving his life for Jesus was Peter, right? Peter is one of the probably lead disciples, I guess if we could say, maybe the head one for sure. And Peter obviously did some serious leveling up to get to where he started and to go through what he did, to then write portions of the New Testament, to have the church. Jesus said that basically he would be the rock in which the church was built. And he wrote some words to you and I to help us in our leveling up process that we're going to look at today. But I want to start off by giving you some insight into why Peter wrote these words. And it's found, if you have your Bibles, in 2 Peter chapter 1. He kind of gives us the reasoning, the thesis statement for his words. He says, this is why I wrote, because the stakes are so high. Like, really, when you think about it, when we think about all the people that we come in contact with, the community that we live in, all the people that are far from a leveling up kind of life, man, the stakes are really high when we talk about their eternity, or we just talk about what kind of life they're going to stand before Jesus with and be accountable for, right? The stakes are super high. This is not just a laissez-faire kind of attitude. We got to get to the point where the stakes are so high. And even though, I love this, even though you're up to date on all this truth and practice it inside out, right, is basically kind of, you guys talk a big game, and I know you know all the right words to say, and I'm sure you probably got all the badges, right? You look the part for sure. And even though you probably don't need it, he says, I am not going to let up for a minute in calling you to attention before it. This is the post to which I've been assigned, right? This is my purpose. This is my calling at this point in my life, to keep you alert, keeping you alert. Some of your translations may say to stir you up, right? To poke, basically, to prod, to kind of entice you, to make you feel uncomfortable. He says, I've been here to keep you alert with frequent reminders. And I'm sticking to it for as long as I live. Right, this is going to be my purpose. My goal is to stir you up, is to make you feel a little uncomfortable at times, if not most times. I say it this way a lot. Jesus came to comfort the afflicted, and then he came to afflict the comforted. It really kind of explains the arc of this relationship, right? Where we come into it weary and tired, and we need Jesus' comfort. But inevitably, we get to a place where it's kind of, recliner out, flipping on channels to the TV, and we need a little affliction. We need a little stirring. We need a little prodding to get us back into a mindset of leveling up. A mindset of, okay, I got to increase the weight another 10 pounds, because now the muscles that I got, I'm not going to get any more based on the same amount of weight. I got to increase the resistance. I got to increase the tension if I'm going to level up. Now, is everyone who follows Jesus called to Peter's post? No, right? Not everyone is called to do what Peter did, but everyone is called to level up for as long as they live. Right? Peter says, I'm going to do this for as long as I live. I'm going to put myself in this situation, maybe rub some, feathers the wrong way for as long as I live, because that's my post. That is what we're called to do. And depending on your time and effort, you should level up to where Peter is, right? Where now eventually it's not just you relying on other people's interpretation of the Bible or other people serving you. You then become that person. You start doing that yourself. And the same phrase, this keeping you alert or this stirring up, he uses this phrase again in the end of 2 Peter. Because this is his goal. He recognizes that there's something about time and following Jesus that inevitably we just kind of drift and become comfortable and become stagnant. So Peter says this in chapter 1, verse 5. He says this when he's talking about leveling up for followers of Jesus. He says, so don't lose a minute in building on what you've been given. Right? Don't lose a minute in building. This idea of building is this idea of, there's a cost involved. If you've ever done any kind of remodeling or if you've ever done any kind of building project, you know that you have to start off with a budget, and there's a whole lot of things that you're going to spend. There's a whole lot of energy you're going to exert before you have any kind of fruit to show of your labor. But it comes at your cost, right? You have to get up and say, I'm willing to pay this price to see this happen. And Peter says, don't lose a minute in doing that, in counting the costs. We live in a culture that, we're used to bailouts and other people doing it for us. And it creates this, downward spiral of just lethargy, right? We want the Matrix where they just stick that thing into the back of their head and you just can download all of the skills needed and not go through the work required to do it. This is akin to the parable that Jesus would say of the talents, right? That each one of us was given different gifts. Some was given 10, some was given 5, some was given 1. And the guys who were given 10 and 5, man, they invested and they worked hard. They allowed that money to work for them to build interest and to create a profit, right? They worked hard. They almost gambled at their own expense, knowing that if they lost it, there would be a consequence. And the one guy, he just buried it and said, man, I don't want to risk anything. I don't want to spend this. I just am happy with the one that I was given. And Jesus came back and he rebuked the one who did that. He said, you could have at least put it in the bank where it would have accrued interest. But don't lose a minute in counting the cost and making a commitment to say, you know what, whatever it takes for me to level up, whatever investment I need to make, whatever kind of resources it's going to take, I'm going to make that kind of commitment to level up. So don't waste a minute in building on what you've been given. And he starts to give us this list of leveling up factors. And the first one, he says, we've all been given you've been given complementing and here's the first one, your basic faith. This is the first step for all of us in a relationship with Jesus is some kind of basic faith where you say, I'm going to choose not to rely on my own works and what I can do, but I'm going to turn towards Jesus and his higher ways for me, right? That's the basic faith. That's the front door, the porch for all of us in faith is to turn from doing it our own way to turn towards Jesus. So step one. Level one is the basic faith. But then he goes on and he says, complementing your basic faith with what? Good character. There's something about a faith in Jesus that then should lead to the next level, as it were, would be where you have good character. This should be probably a little convicting for some of us because there's a lot of people who brag about having faith but don't have any kind of good character. They think that they can just act the way that this is just the way God made me, right? And if he didn't want me to act this way, he wouldn't have made me this way. No, what that is it's an admonition that you don't want to level up in your life. Right, that you don't want to be self-aware. Self-aware is probably one of the most strategic skills that any of us can develop is to look at ourselves and be able to see what in my life is not good character. Maybe it's the way you talk and some of the words that you use, or maybe it's the truth and being able to lead with the truth and not just leading with lies because it's more convenient that way, right? All of us, I'm sure, have some areas of character that could do a little leveling up. But it doesn't really matter if we don't have basic faith. There's no need to, because without basic faith, we get to just live a life where it's all about whatever we want. We want to be the top guy in the company, so we can, undercut other people. We're going to talk behind their backs, and you get to act whatever way that you want to, because in our society, you do what's best for you. But if you have some basic faith, then you recognize that, Jesus wouldn't want me to live this way, being more like him. It should start to change the way that you live, and then you're going to have good character. He goes on, he says basic faith with good character, and then there's going to be some spiritual understanding. Right? That there is going to come a part of your life where you have to own your spiritual understanding. That may be, you can go to school if you want to, Bible school. You don't have to. I mean, we have this thing called YouTube where there's just, information beyond what any one of us could comprehend in a lifetime, where you could sit under professors and teachers and just learn all sorts of information about this Greek word and this Hebrew word and this cultural moment and all sorts of information that you could have access to. But that information comes after basic faith and with good character, right? There's this process, there's this leveling up that has to happen. And in our culture, there's a lot of, again, Christians who have terrible character, but they can quote to you all sorts of Bible verses. They know all sorts of information, but outside the order, it does more harm than good. Right, when you start to get filled up with all sorts of spiritual information without good character, all of a sudden there's all sorts of people who just look down on others because they know all the do's and don'ts. They know all the references. But because they haven't built it and gone in the proper order, it undermines their relationship. It undermines their witness. So basic faith with good character, spiritual understanding, goes on to say alert discipline, right? To be always in this mindset of adding to your life things that are going to help you be more and more like him. It's a discipline. Your life should be a series of more and more disciplines as opposed to less and less. And this is something I personally am a struggle with. Man, I was real disciplined before we opened up Love Handles. COVID hit, and then we opened up Love Handles, and man, I tell you, I must have been unknowingly tried to apply for the mascot position because I have been going the wrong way with my own personal Love Handles, right? And then we're starting to get back into a routine with the family, but it's hard because it's this you got to exercise. You also got to eat properly. And I have just been living in this mindset of eating terrible food and not getting up and exercising. But our life, when you look back, should be a series of added disciplines, not less disciplines. It could be a discipline that you are going to wake up earlier just to spend some time praying for the people around you. It could be a discipline of reading more. And one of the things I try to do is each year read more books than I read the previous year. Right? My disciplines get more, I get bigger, get harder, because we're called to level up. And you don't level up by making your life easier and easier. You level up by making it harder and harder, by becoming more and more disciplined, by having passionate patience. Man, that should be pretty convicting for a lot of us. Patience. We live in a society that's fast food, right? That's McDonald's. And if we're sitting in the Starbucks or the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru and it's longer than 10 minutes, man, we want to talk to the manager. What are you going to do to compensate me for my time? And we feel like breaking the relationship of the person that we're engaged with is more important than than having this opportunity to be in relationship with the barista who we're serving, because we don't have passion and patience. And then there's this reverent wonder, he says. And I started to dig, what exemplifies this idea of reverent wonder? Some of us, we might say it's this idea of worship, which is true, but it's hard in our culture because we tend to kind of box in worship to a band up on a stage and us singing songs. But it's more than that. I mean, singing with music is worship, but that's not all that worship is. Right? Worship is a lifestyle. Worship really is this reverent wonder, constantly pointing things back to God. And as I look through the scripture, man, I don't think anybody exemplifies this more than Joseph in the Old Testament. If you read through the story, Joseph, every time that he talks, he's constantly bringing it back to God. He starts by talking about his dreams to his family, and listen to these dreams that God gave me. And then when he's in, Pharaoh's house, and Potiphar's wife is when he's in Potiphar's house, and Potiphar's wife's trying to, put the moves on, he says, I can't do this because it would be a sin against God, right? When he's in talking to Pharaoh, he tells Pharaoh, man, God put me in this place for such a time, right? There's every time he opens his mouth, it's this pointing things back towards God. And I wonder, in our culture, right, how much things might be different if we got into a habit of this reverent wonder, where everything, when our interactions, we're pointing back towards God. Some of us, we can't do this because we are lacking the good character. So if we were to do that, then our coworkers would be like, aren't you the one who, does X, Y, Z? And we're kind of hands tied because we haven't leveled up properly. I mean, we're great when it comes to when we're with all our other Christians, but when it comes to our friends and our coworkers, they don't know about this life that we have. And our lives aren't constantly pointing back to God. And then he goes on with warm friendliness. Man, if there is a phrase that does not describe culture's view of the church, it's warm friendliness. Usually it's judgmental and all sorts of other phrases because our marketing, the way that we come across, has been full of information, right? Full of spiritual understanding, but without good character, without warm friendliness, it's maybe as Paul describes as a sounding God. And he ends this list with, and generous love. Right, we would think going through some kind of list, some kind of formula that kind of, gets us to that last level, we would think it'd be something kind of mind-blowing and super insightful. And he just says it's generous love. Generous love is this last thing, and it reiterates this idea of building, counting the cost, where you're going to be free to whatever it costs you, whatever it takes, you're willing to pay. And he ends this list and he says, each dimension fitting into and developing the others. He says, each one of these things is like a puzzle that works together and complements each other. Each one of these things is like a level, and then the next one is like another level on top. Now, I don't know that this is an exact in this order kind of list that Peter has given us. But what I do know is that you can't unlock some of these without first having unlocked some of the other ones, right? Like you can't fully get to generous love without doing some kind of basic faith and without some kind of good character, right? To fully get to the truest definition of each one of these, you need the other ones. They unlock each other. They help you level up. It's not just like the fruit of the Spirit where you can really focus on one aspect of it and then you move on to the next one, right? Those aren't how they work. This is not how this list works that Peter gives us. But he says if you want to look more like Jesus tomorrow, or you want to look more like Jesus 10 years from now than you do today, then you have to begin to put all of these they work in this progression. They build on each other. And if you're not seeing some of these, then you might be at a place in your life where you're kind of stagnant, where you're kind of coasting, right? Whatever you've done in your life has gotten you to where you are, but it's not going to get you to where you are called, to that next level. So what we've chosen to do, here at 4 Point is we kind of have a general outline of how we want to stir people up, right? We feel like we're called, like Peter, to stir you up, to kind of both comfort the afflicted, but also to afflict the comforted, to kind of poke you, to make you feel like maybe there's another level for you to go to, because we feel like there is. So we have a general outline of which we work with, and we put people into different categories. The first category is the most outreaching one. It's just simply our community, right? These are the people that are anywhere within some kind of driving distance of Forward Point, right? It could be 10 miles, it could be 15 miles, but these are people who could consider Forward Point as a place that they could come to be a part of. I don't know at which point basic faith comes into play. It doesn't have to be at this part. But they may come in here with no form of basic faith. They're just looking for a place to belong, and we're going to be a place where people belong. But anybody who's within some kind of driving distance of Forward Point fits into this community. And what we want to do is we want to push people. We want to poke and prod people in the most invitational way to come and be a part, right? Well, we're not investing a lot of money in people in California because they're not really within driving distance, of being a part of our faith family here, right? But we will invest a lot of money into Eastwood. We built a frozen yogurt shop into Syracuse. We will, because we want people to go through this process of experiencing faith on their own. So the community, all the people within driving. And eventually we want people in the community who never step foot here in Forward Point to at some point maybe step foot into something that we do, either a Sunday morning gathering, maybe a class that we're offering, right? At some point that they would make a level up from just being a part of the community to now being part of the crowd here at Forward Point. And then eventually they would become part of our congregation, right? Where, again, this is not saying that faith has become part of their life yet, but that they have found a place where they are loved and accepted and belonged. I mean, what a compliment that would be to your leveling up, where people who are far from God could come and hang out with you and they would feel loved and accepted. But part of their story, their leveling up, is they would be a part of our gatherings, a regular part of it, and now they become part of our congregation, right? You know their name. You know who they are. And we've been pushing people towards deeper community, maybe part of a life group, right? That's part of the reason why we're always beating the drum of you got to get into a life group. It's part of one of these steps, pushing people into deeper community, a higher level. And then we pray that people then, if you're kind of have been a part of Forward Point for a long time, maybe a life group, then we're trying to push you towards becoming committed here at Forward Point. Right? You should be serving, not because we need you to serve, right? But because you need to serve. Part of leveling up, right? It's really easy to just kind of come, well, maybe not so much here because it's a little Arctic cold, right? It still has its own hardships. But it can be easy, lackluster. Man, I've seen so many people who just have amazing encounters with Jesus. This is where I'm going to be. And they come and they don't do anything more than just attend on a Sunday morning. And I can tell you, I can count down almost to the exact number how many times they'll be here consistently before it starts to become inconsistent and before it starts to be they're not here anymore at all. Because what got them to where they are is not going to take them to where they are called. So there's this push, there's this pride, there's something more for you. And if you're here this morning, man, I got to tell you, if you don't want to ever lose the kind of relationship and growth and fire that maybe you feel on the inside, then for you it's got to be priority number one to grow in your faith, to say, what is the next step for me? Maybe it's to go from congregation to I need to serve. Or in this last one, right in the middle, we talk about core, right? These are people who said, I want to lead. I've had a heart for, doing some kind of ministry in this area. And our heart is to come alongside people and say, how can we help support you and build ministries around what you feel called to do? It's not about what we want done, and you have to fit into our pegs. But how do we come alongside you? And you go through this again. There's always another level to go through. And then once you come here to the core, then it just works its way out. Now you become someone who goes out to reach the community and bring other people into Forward Point and to the crowd and to push people towards being part of the congregation, being part of the committed, right? And this works in this circle. But I'll tell you, honestly, Forward Point, the only thing harder than me personally going through this process, right, from step to more and more challenge, is to then go and bring somebody else through that process. Right? If you've ever had kids, you understand what it's like to try to help steer other people towards an end goal. It's hard. Right? I remember if you saw the video that I showed that one Sunday of the sheep, right? The sheep is stuck in that little crevice, and the guy spends all sorts of energy to get the sheep out. And the sheep's like, ah, and it starts jumping, and then boop, right back into the crevice, right? That's who we are. And that's what it's like to then try to help other people through this process. But that's what it's like. It gets harder, not easier in our lives. And this process, right, it starts off as super invitational. We talked about this, right? That the invitation at the beginning, that level 1 is super invitational. If you're tired, if you're weak, if you're weary, come, I have you rest, right? But as you go into this, it becomes harder and harder. The invitation goes down, and the challenge goes up. It becomes harder and harder. The further out we are, it's invitational. This is all invitational. But the further in you go, it becomes more and more. The challenge goes up, and then eventually, when you're in the middle, man, when you're part of the core where you're leading, it's not fun a lot of times. It's meaningful to see life change and to see people turn from living their own way to finding a relationship with Jesus. Man, it's meaningful, but it came at your cost. It came at your expense. It came at week after week doing things that just don't seem to make any kind of difference. But you said, I'm going to build these things into my life. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to keep working that this recipe, that I'm going to unlock other levels because I'm going to focus on this level. And I don't know when it's coming, but it's going to come, and we're going to level up. So this is the Forward Point part of the strategy. And for the next 4 weeks or so, we're going to just be diving into our strategy as we get prepared again to move into this new space and to capitalize on the relationship between Love Handles right across the street. Like it feels like as a leadership team, like we're just getting set up to do some pretty awesome things. But to do that, we all need to be on the same page. We got to understand the process. You have to understand when we're poking and prodding, when we're kind of pushing you, when we got the little spear trying to get you to go off the edge, it's because we believe with all of our hearts that what got you to where you are today, that is not enough to get you to where you were called. And we're going to give our lives over to being part of that process of helping you to experience what we've gotten to experience and seeing life change. So our prayer is, Forward Point, that you would join us in that. God, we're so grateful that you chose to bring heaven down to earth. And God, we are so sorry for the times where we've just been content to just be on the same level that we're on, hoping that at the end of it that we get to spend eternity with you. God, we don't want to be part of the group of people who are just content with getting to heaven someday, but we want to be part of bringing heaven here to Eastwood and to Syracuse. So would you help us this morning to count the costs? Would your Holy Spirit come to challenge us and say, man, are we going to be content with just whatever got us to where we're at now in life? Or are we going to look at our life and say, okay, here are the areas that I need to grow, and here's what's missing in my life. God, I give you permission. I give you the control to allow these other elements to come into to work in my heart, in my soul, in my mind, so that I can level up Maybe for some of us, it's going to be a leveling up process that, we're doing over the course of days. For others of us, it's going to be that it takes weeks and months and years. But for all of us, it's going to be the same heart to say, am I taking the next step? Am I going to where you're calling me, or am I just staying stagnant and comfortable at where I'm at? So as we respond to you this morning, we pray, God, that you would help us, that you would challenge us to be more like you. We love you.
I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. Ooh, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I am weak. You say I am held when I am falling short, and when I don't belong, oh, you say I am yours. And I believe, oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe. The only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth, in you I find my identity. Ooh, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I am weak. You say I am held when I am falling short, when I don't belong. Oh, you say I am yours, and I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe. Taking all I have and now I'm laying it at your feet. You'll have every failure, God. You'll have every victory. Oh, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. You say I am held when I am falling short, when I don't belong. Oh, you say I am yours. You say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I am weak.
wasn't holding you up, so there's nothing I can do to let you down. It doesn't take a trophy to make you proud. I'll never be more loved than I am right now.
Going through a storm, but I won't go down. I hear your voice carried in the rhythm of the wind to call me out. You would cross an ocean so I wouldn't drown. You've never been closer than you are right now. You are Jireh, you are enough. Jireh, you are enough. And I will be content in every circumstance. Jireh, you are enough. Forever enough, always enough, more than enough. Forever enough, always enough, more than enough. I don't want to forget how I feel right now on the mountaintop. I can see it so clear what it's all about.
Stay by my side when the sun goes down. Don't wanna forget how I feel right now. Jireh, Jireh, you are enough. Jireh, you are enough. I will be content in every circumstance. Jireh, you are enough. Forever enough, always enough, more than enough. Forever enough, always enough, more than enough.
I'm already loved.
Already loved.
I'm already chosen.
Already chosen.
I know who I am.
I know who I am.
I know what you've spoken.
I'm already loved more than I could imagine.
And that is enough for you are Jireh. You are enough. Jireh, you are enough. And I will be content in every circumstance. Jireh, you are enough.
God of mercy, sweet love of mine, I have surrendered to your design. May this offering stretch across the skies. These hallelujahs be multiplied. These hallelujahs be multiplied. Sing with us, your love.
Your love is like radiant diamond bursting inside us. We cannot contain. Your love will surely come find us like blazing wildfire, singing your name.
God of mercy, God of mercy, sweet love of mine, I have surrendered this hope will reach straight across the skies. These hallelujahs be multiplied. Your love is like radiant diamonds bursting inside us. We cannot contain. Your love will surely combine us like blazing wildfires, singing your name. God of mercy, sweet love of mine, I have surrendered to your design. May this hope will reach straight across the skies. These hallelujahs be multiplied. God of mercy, oh God of mercy, sweet love of mine, I have surrendered to your design. May this hope will reach straight across the skies. These hallelujahs be multiplied.
These hallelujahs be multiplied.
Higher than the mountains that I face, stronger than the power of the grave, constant in the trial and the change. Oh, one thing remains. One thing remains. Sing with us. Your love never fails. Your love never fails. It never gives up. It never runs out on me. Your love never fails. It never gives up. It never runs out on me. Your love never fails. It never gives up. It never runs out on me. Your love. On and on. And on and on and on and on it goes. And it overwhelms and satisfies my soul. Oh, and I never ever have to be afraid. One thing remains. One thing is paid, and there's nothing that can separate my heart from your great love. Your love never fails and never gives up, never runs out on me. Oh, your love never fails and never gives up, and never runs out on me. Your love never fails and never gives up, never runs out on me. Oh, your love, your love, oh, your love never fails and never gives up, and never runs out on me. Oh, your love never fails and never gives up, and never runs out on me. Oh, your love never fails and never gives up, and never runs out on me. Oh, your love, oh, your love, know your love, oh, your love.
Awesome. Forward Point, if you're looking for what those next steps are and what leveling up may look like next, we have many different ways you can do that. We have an awesome prayer team at the end of the service, right located in the back. You can text welcome to 315-883-2213. You have the Church Center app, as we mentioned in the beginning. And at the very least, we also have the Welcome Center at the back. So if you really want that in-person touch, somebody there that can answer any questions that you may have.
And if this is where you've decided that you want to give, we have a couple ways you can do that. We have the Joy Box in the back because giving is a joy. You can text any amount to the number 84321. You can give online at forwardpoint.org, or you can give at the Church Center app. Again, guys, the Church Center app is a great way to get connected and stay connected.
Yes. And as I mentioned just now, we do have a prayer team. They're located in the back. They're awesome people. They'll stand in the gap with you. They'll hold hands with you and pray for you, whatever you may need. So if you have something that's burning on your heart, before you leave today, please stop by, say hello, pray with them.
And then the Palace Theater is so generous. Let us come here on a weekly basis. So we like to give back. If you have any time after the gathering, we meet at a closet right there. Get some brooms and clean up the place. We like to leave it better than we found it. Many hands make a light work, so we can get out of here really quick if there's a bunch of you.
Absolutely. And if you came with a child, we expect that you leave it with the child. So please do not forget, pick up your children before you leave.